Okay, right. So I'm just gonna be honest, right, and open this one out.
Yep.
James the other day came to me in the DM, raging, like fury like I've never seen before,
Oh
right?
yeah.
Just like coming down fresh from the sun, flames like you just grew flamed wings, just like
Mhm.
flying over the earth. That type of rage. And he said, Sam, I need to get this off my chest. So I'm gonna open the floor to you, and I'm setting you up for this one
You're
because
lying.
I feel.
You're lying, fucker. But
Go on. Go on.
well, okay,
Get it
okay,
off your
you know,
chest.
shall I
Therapy
add in,
time.
add in, add in the audio, the voice note that you sent me into my DMs regarding this conversation, this topic, then as well. Actually, I can play it now live on this. If you want me to?
Hey, let's keep our DMs private, yeah? Let's
I think
never
that's a
go
good,
into the DM.
I think that's a good idea.
Yeah.
I think we can both agree on that one.
Because know where it's like if we want to open that can of worms, it's
Yeah.
like the Titanic going down. And I'm not just on there, you're on there too. And we're saluting as the ship is sinking. Right? Together. We're
Yeah.
there with the violins, everything, and we're just at the front of that boat, hand held high, and we're going down together. There's
I
nothing that we can do,
I
you
agree.
know. So anyway, in all seriousness, topic of today. I think this might be the most controversial one, mate, to date. I don't know, trap bars up there, but this is pushing it, I think, you
Yeah,
know.
because this is a hot, like on trend kind of exercise. So I think this will, yeah, maybe annoy a few people. But
Right, okay.
you
So
said to me when I said to you about this, you said I am at the point where I don't care if I upset people. So that's what you told. I'm a bit
yeah.
more. I'm a bit more considerate about what I say. You just go, balls to the wall, like all out.
Yeah, yeah.
Collateral damage. So I'm just going to be collateral damage in this, aren't I? So like,
Yeah, yeah.
people don't like what you say. I'm like you said, going down with you. So
We're going down together with this
yeah,
one. Anyway, should we say the topic? So
yeah, 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 yeah.
reformer Pilates, right? Or Pilates. And look, I
No,
think the
let's separate that because yeah, this is more on the reformer
yeah,
side. Because like again, um, like I have no things with no beef at all with Pilates. I think
yeah.
it's more the go on anyway. Let's dig
Yeah,
into it.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. And that's an important distinction because, like, literally, my wife, does Pilates. She's a
Yeah, yeah.
Pilates instructor, and so I think before we do anything, I want to kind of clear my thoughts on the distinction between the two, and
Mhm.
more specifically, we'll be talking about because this isn't an episode to trash Pilates by any means. Like that's not that's not our intention, and um there is absolutely a place for Pilates, like there is a place for yoga, like there is a place for various other forms of exercise in the industry. And one of the unique advantages I think of Pilates is that, and me and Lainey have talked about this, and she's explained it to me, and I wholeheartedly agreed, like genuinely. Not everybody is going to be barbell training. Like
Mhm.
that's the reality of it, right? Like, um, although it would be great if people did, and it's just not going to be the reality. It's unrealistic to just assume that everyone's going to just pick up a barbell tomorrow and say, yeah, I'm going to start squatting, right? Like it's not going to happen. And there's various reasons for that. Like some people are just intimidated by a gym. Some people don't have the confidence to go into a gym. Nor everybody may want to, right? Not, there is that reality too. Like I don't necessarily enjoy playing bowls, like, and not everybody enjoys lifting weights, so what's are you laughing now?
just, I was expecting you to say something else. I just wasn't expect. I was like, I was thinking like, golf, because I know when I asked you about golf before, you're like, no. So I was expecting golf or cricket. I wasn't expecting bowls, but yeah.
Hey, you never know. Maybe when I'm in my 80s, right, and I've got nothing else to do,
Hmm.
bowls I might take up.
You were
But
shit at 10-pin bowling though, weren't you? If I remember.
was I now? Was I? Oh, when did we do 10 pin bowling
Last
together?
year we went on my birthday. Remember you, me, and some of my mates? We went down to Cardiff.
I won, didn't I?
Did you?
Yes, I won.
Oh
I
shit!
beat you all. I beat you. Hey, Mr. Elephant Memory Man, right? I won that day. I
Collective.
remember.
Yeah.
Yeah, I won that day.
Right.
So you can take that back.
All right.
Anyway, yeah, I mean, it's not for everyone, is it? Like ultimately. And so, look, it's a real low barrier to entry form of exercise for people, So people who wouldn't otherwise leave their house will go outside, move their body, they will have a certain level of mobility improvements, and there is a ceiling for strength, right? And we'll get into that. But if they haven't otherwise trained, they will get a little bit stronger, just not forever.
Hmm.
And do you know what? There's value in that. There's also value in the fact that there's a community aspect to it too, and
Yeah.
so people get out, they socialize, they get to make friends, all that positive stuff. So there is 100% genuinely a place for it. My same opinion on yoga, is exactly the same. And people, they should be that avenue for them. Now there is a new thing that's come about called Reformer Pilates, right? Which is, I don't know. Do you want to? It's quite hard to explain what it is, really. Do you want to explain what that is? Because I'm struggling to
I mean, to be
define it,
honest,
to be honest.
you're best off if adding a clip from a YouTube video of that into this,
Into this. Yeah, yeah.
like get the grasp of what it is. Obviously, it's using a set table, isn't it? And it's obviously done requiring that. So yeah, do you want to carry on or
Yeah, yeah. Well, so you're basically using a machine, right? Of some
with spring,
sort.
some level of spring resistance or varying levels of spring resistance?
Yeah, very varying levels of spring resistance. And that's what we're going to be talking about today, right? Because like Lainey, she is very clear, and I don't know if she said it's because she's been around me and seeing what I do with barbell training. She's very, very clear and honest with people about what it does and what it doesn't do, and that's amazing, And there's an avenue for that. What there isn't an avenue for, and this is specifically what we're going to be talking about, is when people are selling it for
Hmm.
something that it's not.
Yep.
And look, this this episode might annoy a couple of people, especially as you say, it's quite a contentious topic at the moment. There's a lot of it going on, and like we've always done, we're honest. We shoot straight from the hip about these things. So it kind of got brought up. We were talking earlier, but you had a bit of a story, didn't you? Where well, not a story, but it's happened to you before, I think, where people are saying, yeah, I want to fix my knee pain or wherever it might be, shoulder
Yeah.
pain. So do you want to run with that to,
Yeah, I
to
don't,
talk about,
just having a
yeah,
conversation with someone and they were sort of saying that they were dealing with a multitude of problems with to do with their physical strength and mobility, so like overall capacity of their body, ability, and and they were talking about how they were looking to get a reformer Pilates table for the house set up in a spare bedroom to build the core strength because that was going to be the kind of like the limiting factor to them getting over their limitations and the pain. And yeah, I mean, it's just don't get me wrong, they may get some benefit, and I do believe that like this could be a useful add-on to other forms of training, but it's not the be all end all fix all problems. Like far
right, right. And Like what would you say? So obviously we talked about the pros, right, of
Mm.
Pilates. So now we're going to talk about reformer Pilates specifically. Um, I don't know. Do you see any pro to reformer Pilates at all,
I
or
mean, I would say apart from like, well, first of all, if you've got access to it to a class, whatever, it's a generally low barrier to entry. It can be quite gentle. I guess maybe someone would say, I don't know, whatever you want to call it, like restorative. It's not, no, it's not going to be highly fatiguing. And yes, I'm sure someone will come at me and say, oh, well, you should go and try it. Well, I'm more than happy to try it. I'll go and do it. Because I'm relatively strong. I've got good mobility. I do not think I'm going to get buried by a
yeah?
reformer Pilates class. So it is, generally low barrier to entry, good for someone if they are, let's say, fresh off an injury and very restricted in their movement, and they are maybe a bit timid to go in and work with a trainer or a coach, and don't want to touch anything resistance based. That is maybe a very gentle way for them to reintegrate some exercise into their life. So I'd say that's one
Mm,
positive.
Any others?
There's not going to be no any kind of big recovery element to it. So
Mm.
like for me, when it comes to like, let's say, exercise, it should tick off one of two boxes. So you should either do it because purely out of enjoyment. So like I go and play football out of enjoyment, not because I think I'm going to be get signed by Manchester United, by
Right.
playing football. I do that purely out of enjoyment. I sprint and I train in the gym because those are the things that will like improve my physical ability, like improve my speed, keep me relatively strong and improve my mobility. So that's why I train those things. So I think when you're doing some form of exercise, it should either provide you enjoyment or move you towards your goals. So if someone's getting great enjoyment from it, happy days. Or if someone just wants, like I said, a more restorative like form of exercise that doesn't cause too much fatigue, then yeah, go ham on it.
Right. Right. Um, Should we get into the meat and potatoes of it
Yeah,
then?
yeah.
Like, because I do think, I'll be honest, it does make my skin crawl when I see all this stuff on social media and it's a lot at the moment where people are saying it hits muscles that you miss
Mm,
in general training, and like it provides some type of unique strength benefit, and it's going to cure your back pain or knee pain or wherever it might be to someone who's had chronic back pain for the last 20 years on and off.
mm,
Like, then we get into, and this is why it's a real important topic really to talk about, because that's then you're starting to get into the realm of, well, let's say it frankly, ripping people off. Like you're telling people that it's gonna give them a solution to something that it's not.
mm,
And as a strength coach who understands basic principles of training, things like specificity, fatigue management, progressive overload, I understand how it negates all of those principles. However, to the average person, they're looking at it and they're just seeing it at surface level, right? They're saying, oh, this is popular at the moment, so we're just going to jump on this machine and just think, yeah, I'm just going to work out relatively low intensity, as you've put it, and expect an outcome. And a big outcome, which is taking my pain away. Like that's probably one of the biggest outcomes you can get from a form of exercise, and that's not the reality of it. Like it just it doesn't work that way. And so I think, when you look at, maybe it is a bit more personal for me because, I see, you know, Lainey, my wife who does Pilates, and she charges a real fair price. She works really, really hard. She is really good at her job. And then you see these performers Pilates come in, and people could get the equal benefit, but they end up paying 10 times more
Mm.
because they want to go to some fancy studio, you know, with £3,000, 4,000 worth of equipment, you know, like and charge £300 a month or whatever it might be to go to
Yeah,
these studios, you know.
yeah.
So like to me, I don't know. Like, look, if you want to do that, brilliant. Look, who am I to tell you what to do, you know? Um, but the point of this podcast is to be real with people, you know, to tell them, look, this is what it does, this is what it doesn't do. And so just be aware of that before going in because you're not getting told that on social media. You know, is that fair, mate? Am I being
Oh
fair there?
yeah,
Or am
it's
I
fun.
being a bit hard?
No, and what you said there. Have you seen the film Good Will Hunting?
Um,
Matt Damon, Ben Affleck.
yes, yes, you told me
Like,
to watch it.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
like it's like probably my favorite film. But what you said there reminds me like of a scene from there. So he's in a bar and he's arguing with this guy who's studying in no in Boston in university, and the guy is paying like whatever for his degree, and Matt Damon's there, and he's obviously like a genius, and he's studied in the library, and he says, "Oh, he said you're going to wake up in 10 years' time, and you're going to realize the mistakes you've made. You dropped $150,000 on an education you could have got for $1.50 at the public library." It's just like what you said there. You're like the thing with it is it's very much glorified, but you're paying through your eyes for it. Like whether you're buying one of these reformer tables for the house or whether you're paying the premium rate to join in a class with possibly like no 8 or 10 other people. Like
Right.
it's not it's not a low barrier to entry in terms of cost, is it? It's more of
No.
a luxury thing.
Right, right, exactly, exactly, and they are, you know, like a lot of these memberships. I see them go for like easily 250, £300 a month,
Mm.
easily, you know. And you think about what you could get for that amount. Like you look at even the equipment itself. I don't know how much is a table, like £2,000, something like that, probably. Would you say?
Yeah, I think
You
so.
know, like you get a squat rack, barbell, and some plates for like 500, 600 quid, you know. Maybe a rack is a bit more, about 800 quid, maybe. Barbell, a couple £100. Then you got the plates, maybe a few £100 extra, you know. So it's actually cheaper to buy something that's going to be of more use to you long term. But because you see, oh yeah, this is like new, it looks fancy, everybody's doing it, it's the in thing, that's fine if you want to buy into it, but it's you've got to remember, like you pointed out, know that you're getting into it for enjoyment rather than I actually want to get a tangible result out of this long term. You
Mm.
know, and I think that that isn't getting spread enough, is it? You know, but yeah, I do you want to maybe go into some of the reasons why
Yeah,
there
I mean,
isn't?
like the other thing you said there is like about that, like buying a squat rack. It's not even that. It's like the money that you're probably investing in doing these classes, multiple times a week for a sustained period of months. I don't know what results you're expecting to see. Yes, you're probably going to improve flexibility to a degree, like 100%. But in my opinion, you'd be far better off investing that money into like some coaching where you will like learn how to train through a full range of motion, learn how to like add load and train in those end ranges. You're going to develop your mobility far better and get strong with it, as
Right,
opposed to, there's going to be a limitation, isn't there? How long can you add more springs to this like reformer table? And the other thing is,
exactly.
I correct someone might correct me, but I don't believe that it trains you in like full deep knee and hip flexion the same as like for argument's sake getting into a full deep back squat.
Yeah, exactly. You've hit the nail on the head. Like the firstly, look, and this is my my point of contention with it is when we talk strength, right? Because that's typically what one of the things that people will talk about, right? Is like all the strength benefits.
Mm,
Look, there's certainly a mobility benefit, definitely, as you pointed out. There would be as well a strength benefit too, definitely a strength benefit, but with a ceiling, right? And that ceiling is relatively low, right?
Yep.
Because we know just basic biology, right? Um, we need to have some type of progression built in to the program, right? And so you think about it like this in strength training, why is a barbell so useful? Well, a barbell so useful, one, because the movements associated with it uh, train a lot of muscle mass, and take it through a full range, like you just referred to. And two, it's unique in the sense that it offers incremental loading, right? So this is just my personal opinion and why I'm biased towards a barbell. How long can you progress your leg extensions for? 6, 8 weeks if you're lucky, before you
Mm.
have to change it out. A back squat you can do until you're 86, right? You can keep loading a back squat. And obviously, look, you're not just going to go up forever, right? Like that's not how it works. You can vary load, but that's something that you can do for the rest of your training career, you know? And so progression is very much built into the type of training that we're doing, right? Now, a reformer's Pilates table utilizes springs
Yep.
and spring resistance. Well, how long can you do that for and progress the resistance or whatever it might be or time before it's you can't do any more, right? And so if you think about it this way, with barbell training, strength training, see it through the following analogy. You have fish in a pool of water, right? And the waters say, I don't know, I'm picking any number, 20 degrees Celsius, right? I don't know if that's too hot for fish or too cold. Someone's probably out there screaming who's an expert in fish. I don't know, right? But just for the sake of the analogy. Now, for those fish to adapt to the water temperature over the next 100 years, you don't just slam up the water temperature by 30 degrees because what's going to happen? They're all going to die,
Yeah.
right? Now, what we do is we gradually increase the temperature of the water. So we adjust it, but incrementally, without you even noticing we're changing the temperature of the water. And what happens with the fish? They start to adapt to the temperature of the water because homeostasis needs to be disrupted, not so much that you're just going to crash and burn, but incrementally. And that needs to be able to be dialed up over time. And you can't even dial that up with Reformers Pilates, right? You don't have a gauge, you don't have a dial. And you do a little bit, but your dials may be cut off, past one. With barbell training, you have another 10 different gears you can work through. And
Mm.
I think that's something that, you talk about strengthening the body. Well, there's a very, very low ceiling for adaptation, right? So obviously you can imagine when I see these posts and all this sort of stuff, and I'm like strength benefits, and you know, there's nothing functional about doing Pilates.
Also,
Nothing,
you're lying down on these tables, aren't you? You know, so you're not really loading your body in terms of you're not getting the bone mineral density
right?
benefits that you get from traditional training, are you?
For sure. That's a great point. You're not getting that compression, So I yeah, I do have an issue when I see that because then it's just false advertising. Can you imagine if I said to people, strength training is going to make you, if you'd start barbell training with me, one day you're going to be able to fly.
Mm.
You'd be like, "Mate, what are you on about?" I know that might seem ridiculous, but to me, it's the same deal, right? Because it's you're just not going to be able to be, this super strong, super functional human being. It's not going to give you that. Being stronger is more functional, and there's a ceiling to that with something like Reformer Pilates. So yeah, I don't know. Have I cooked that one there, mate, or have you got any other points that maybe I've missed?
No, I think you're spot on. I also think that there's maybe this like kind of belief. I think it's marketed in some way, and I think it's aimed more towards the female market in this respect. Is that no. like reformer Pilates, you'll build long, lean muscles with this, not bulky muscles that you'll get from traditional, resistance training in the gym.
Right.
And the problem is obviously like, you and I laugh at that, but like for your average person who's maybe inexperienced with this, they'll look at the maybe an instructor performing that who's in good shape, and they'll think, oh well, she's doing that, so like I'll look like that from that, and whereas weights will make me big and bulky, and
Oh, that's a brilliant point.
like
Yeah.
a muscle can get bigger or smaller, and fat cells can grow or reduce, and that's it. That's the only way you're going to change the shape and size of your body, not by doing, you can't create long, lean muscles by doing certain things. You can create
Yeah.
obviously like flexibility and mobility through your tissue and strengthen your joints, but there's no like hacking it with certain like fancy classes.
Well, that's a brilliant point because people they do see some of these Pilates and reformers Pilates, wherever it might be, instructors. I think, I mean, they're in great shape, and they think, well, that's going to be me. If I buy into this, I'm going to look that way, And the problem is that people who don't do this with ethics in mind will say, yeah, you will. And it does get sold, long, lean muscles. You can't create, like, there's nothing that you can do. Like, what is a long, lean muscle?
Well,
All you
like
have is muscle.
that's it. The leanness is coming from that person who's instructing. The leanness is coming from their overall lifestyle, the whole ecosystem, not just lying on the bed for an hour or whatever 3 times a week and doing these exercises.
Right.
Like so then you've got to consider then let's say you're exercising 2 hours a week, 3 hours a week, that's your training time, whatever. Like, are you better off investing it for your goals? Are you better off investing it by lying on these tables and doing these movements, or better off, doing some form of resistance training where you can progressively like increase your strength and increase your mobility, which is going to benefit you now and for like many years to come,
Do you
and
know
probably
what the
goals.
Do you know what the issue is with that though?
Mm.
Is that one requires little thought and just turning up to a class, and it's relatively low intensity, and let's be honest, pretty it compared to something like barbell training, where it's brutal, it's hard, very difficult. It requires some type of effort and consistency, and it's not as fancy. It's not, you know, and it's hard to build muscle. Like you talk about building muscle and getting into, maybe the shape of some of these people that you look at in Pilates, which by the way I think is a flawed mindset anyway, because you've got a completely different lifestyle, a completely different set of genetics. Nobody compares themselves to someone who's running a multi-million dollar enterprise, right? Nobody ever does that because they see the work that it would require to get to that position, right? So they don't even bother comparing themselves. But because everybody's concerned with how they look, somehow we make these emotional connections, between, oh, I could look that way. That's
Mm.
not the reality. And so back to my original point is that it's uncomfortable, however, to build muscle tissue. So a lot of these people are born that way, and if they do work for it, then they have to work really hard to look that way. And that means, and I talked about this the other day, and this is an uncomfortable reality too. You have to be willing to eat more food if you want to build more muscle, right? Like, and look, I'm not saying if someone's look, the reality is most people, they don't need a 10-week shred. They need to build a foundation of strength and muscle mass and resilience. You know, and as you get stronger and you add more weight to the bar, your body responds by starting to build denser tissues. And then you have to fuel that, right? Because your energy requirements increase over time because now you're building more tissue, and you have to be willing to eat a little bit more to facilitate that. How many people are wanting to do that today? You
Mm.
know, it's much easier to say, I'll, I'll just go to this class and lie down on a table and, like bring my heels up to my glutes and back down and do these hip extensions and thrusts. Like that isn't doing much of anything. Does that is that fair, would you say?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You know? But yeah, I think that's a key point you've brought up there because you don't people I think associate there's a certain type of training that gets you a certain type of result, and there is just only building more muscle tissue, losing a bit more fat. That's how you start to alter yourself into looking more, I suppose, what people would look at stereotypically more lean,
Mm.
and all that sort of stuff. That's how you do it. There is no other way.
It's no different, is it, to the, like all of your, like, I don't know what you call them now, hit classes that they do in very big commercial gyms. And you can go along and do 5 hit classes a week. And the instructor, who is probably a trainer, so they probably train themselves anyway outside of this. They probably, they're like structured with their nutrition. They have a certain physique appearance, but then the layperson going into the class thinks, if I do more hit classes, I'll look like that, and like the association like just doesn't ring true.
Right. And
That's the thing.
that's so true. That's
Yeah.
so true. And it never gets spoken about. So hopefully this makes people privy to it. The other thing, why do people get into the fitness industry? Uh, Sometimes it's not because they're passionate about it, it's because they look a certain way,
Mhm.
So there's that too, right? Like some people, like people are just blessed with intelligence, right? People are also blessed with genetics and how they look. That is a thing. And you see it online, people just have got a six pack, some people, they don't have to do an awful lot of anything and they just look a certain way.
Yeah.
And they think, well, I look this way, I get a lot of attention on social media because of it. Maybe I can market myself and sell a program. And they've got no knowledge base behind that. People think, oh, well, if I do what this guy or girl's doing, I'm going to look that way. And it's an easy trap to fall into. And I think Reformers Pilates is the new trap that a lot of people are falling into these days. There's that bit of a mic drop moment to finish that one on, mate.
Yeah.
What do you say? But yeah, anything else you want to add, mate? Because
No, like,
do you think we covered all bases there?
yeah, like I said, the caveat would be like I touched on earlier, is if someone just enjoys it and they enjoy it,
Yes.
then absolutely crack on. Like I'm not here and you're not here to tell someone you shouldn't be
Mm.
doing this. It's like, you do
Yeah.
what you want. Like someone may look at my training and go, well, why are you sprinting? It's just like it's what I enjoy and it suits my goals. So
Yeah.
if doing a reformer Pilates class brings you enjoyment or it aligns with your goals, then absolutely crack on because you're doing some form of exercise.
Absolutely, absolutely. And that you're right. That is our sole intent behind this is just to talk about the stuff that isn't spoken about a lot on social media so that you are just more informed
Mm.
so that when you go into this you understand what it does and what it doesn't do. And also as well, finally, not just getting her good books, but credit to Lainey, my wife, who does Pilates and is honest about it and is honest about the value. And you should go to one of her classes. You should, to people like her, because listen, there is plenty of benefit to it. If you don't want to get into the gym or you don't enjoy going to the gym, that's going to be the next best thing, getting out and meeting more people and stuff like that. So, absolutely, mate, I couldn't agree more. We're not here to just completely slate it, but more so to make a clear distinction between the people I think that are being a little bit disingenuous about it. Anyway, should we wrap that one up there?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you want to see us out?
Yep. So, guys, if you've enjoyed this episode, please leave a rating and review and subscribe on iTunes and Spotify, and we'll catch you in the next one. Boom.